just like the right pair of boots, designed to keep you on top of your game. Open the Betfair app to equip yourself so you can bet at your best. Betfair, play different. 18 plus, begambleaware.org.
I say, it's a welcome to Wednesday night of live league cup football on TalkSport. The champs of Manchester City have been lifting on the champs of Newcastle. The match bravado built up against 7 will kick off 8 p.m. sharp. It's a splendiferous Wednesday night of live league cup football on the nation's favourite TalkSport.
Maybe because I know the answer to who this player is, I just think it's so obvious. Like, surely, I mean, you can't get more obvious clues. Kenyon Barnes, final word, Adil Adibala Pardew.
Listen, I know what you feel that, thankfully it rains out, I mean, we have big people who can't get it.
I was in the green room earlier and I got this for about 5 seconds. Yes or no, Barnes? Yes or no, Barnes?
Yes.
Thank you. Thank you. Rory Jennings, Mr. Rory Jennings, who knows everything, doesn't know the answer, just messaged me, so he hasn't got a clue. Mental. Let me down, Rory. Let me down. My teammate on every Friday. Quick plug, 7 till 10 Friday. Spend football Friday. Alright, if you know who the mystery footballer is, text us 810 890, WhatsApp us as well, 03717 22 I'll let you know who it is a bit later. But let's look back at Saturday's game at Anfield when Liverpool put 4 past Newcastle live on TalkSport. Liverpool, on a slot. Where are you?
I don't know where I am. I'm confused completely. Because, well, when he went into, I have to rewind a little bit, when he went into Liverpool after Klopp and he settled the team down, made them a little bit more methodical, they looked brilliant on it. They had a kind of a mixture between like a Dutch style and Klopp style. It was lovely, and they walked the league. This year, it seems to me they've lost that little bit of Klopp about them. And they're kind of a little bit hard to watch at times, which is hard. Liverpool, throughout the history of Liverpool, they're always brilliant to watch, particularly at home. You can't wait for the game. You know that something's going to happen. And obviously when you go there as a manager, it's like daunting to stand on the sideline and see him in full kind of bloom. But, they were better yesterday, and Ekitike looks like he's grown into the shirt. The colour of his hair, the sort of confidence he's sort of displaying, like a peacock, all his feathers are up.
Torres-esque, does he remind you a bit of Fernando Torres?
Yeah, I was thinking Jacob through that, it did it, because that finish was special.
Yeah.
To finish it like that on a really quick run, to hit it on the outside foot like he did was lovely. I like him a lot. Me and Madge big fans of his. Yes, better. I still think Liverpool, for me, because the league's gone, I still make them favourites for the Champions League.
Right, okay.
But they're going to need to find, in my opinion, a little bit more zeal. Even though it was great results yesterday, Newcastle had a tough game in Champions League, and I just think Newcastle were off it a little bit. I think there's still more to come from Liverpool. I really do.
Yeah.
And I think they'll kick in when these cups get round to the seriousness of them.
Yeah, a bit of a soft underbelly, some people say about that midfield. Maybe it's a bit too easy to kind of go through. Wirtz has been a big topic of discussion just because of the price tag.
Yeah.
And he started the season, I think some say, a bit slow because of the price tag. He's now into full swing, isn't he? I mean, goals, assists, a bit of magic, a turn here, a turn there. He's exciting to watch.
Yeah, I still, when you look at him, I still want a little bit more, if I'm honest. I still think he should be in the game a little bit more. I think we should see more of those moments. But you look at his body, and I know they're massive, Scott Liverpool on the athleticism of their players. So they work hard in the gym, they work hard on the training ground, on physical development. And he looks bigger, he looks like he's gone half a stone. Not like fat, but like muscle and strength and conditioning. So, because at the start of the season, there was a lot of times he dwelled on it and got caught. And those moments are becoming less and less. Not often he gets caught now, or his pass is not quite the right pace and etc. So I think he's grown into the league. I think he's a player that looks to me like he's not quite there, but it's coming. That should be a worry for everyone, because obviously they got a certain player
back, does that front three still for you include Mo Salah?
Yeah, well, I think Mo's having one. I mean, he was exceptional last year. We're only talking about, 8 months ago. You can't even say it's a calendar year that he was absolutely brilliant.
Ballon d'Or favourite at one
Yeah,
stage.
exactly. I just think he, the the AFCO tournament takes a lot out of African players. So I still think he probably. I was surprised that Salah put him straight back in. Actually, I thought he probably needs a rest. That's what I think he needs. He needs 3 or 4 weeks out, and hopefully he doesn't have a soul cut like he did last time. He kind of accepts it and comes back fresh for that running, particularly in the Champions League. I still think there's lots more to come from him. I still think he's below his level, and we're talking about an exceptional level.
How difficult is it? You would have players here where they're the star man,
Yeah.
and then you made a signing, and that signing's almost come and taken that role. I look at Ekatike, and you mentioned it on there, and it looks like it's almost his team. He wants it to be his team, but for the past 8.5 years, it's been Salah. Yeah, how difficult is that?
That's kid on the block. That's part of football. You have to get, that's part of it. I'm not saying that the old star that can accept it straight away, but they can do over a period of time. I don't think Equity is anywhere near Salah's level at this time. So I don't think he is the star of the team. I think he's a favourite of the team at the moment, particularly the fans, and quite rightly. But I still think that in Salah there's more to come, and I think a rest period. I really do think that the main rest to be followed and leave him out again, and that's what I would do. I would leave him out, and I think sometimes you get although in the short term you have a problem like you did when Salah went to the press and etc. In the long term you'll win.
It'll be interesting to see what Slot does do when everyone is fit, because Alexander Isak will need to play, right? He spent a lot of money in Ekatike, will need to play, so Florian Wirtz in his only position for free up front. Anyhow, Newcastle, it's a bit of a thumping for them. They started the game really well. First 30 minutes, they were definitely the team on top. They're currently 10th in the league. It is very congested. A win can take you to 6. A defeat can take you down to 11. But they've lost 9 league games. Is he under a bit of pressure? I mean, every manager, I guess, is under pressure. But you know what I mean? Is he under more pressure?
Yeah, he's under pressure because in Newcastle, you're judged on what you've done. Sometimes if you've had the last couple of years which he's had, when he's brought his trophy to football club, that's the level you would expect us to reach every time. So this down period they're having, on the back, by the way, of a European run, which was very similar to when we finished fifth with a great team I had. The next year we really struggled with the European campaign with league form. And we was lower than where Newcastle are now. Obviously they've invested a lot more money, and I think they've got a great ability to deal with the European run. But I still think that Newcastle fans, and probably Eddie himself, thinks that the league form should be a little bit better with the depth and squad he's got. But they've had injuries too, and I have sympathy for him. But really and truly, the expectations that they have at the football club is brought on by the success that they have. So let's not forget that.
Indeed. All right, let's get another update as to what's going on in that game at the Emirates Stadium. Remember, it's the Women's Champions Cup final. Last time we went today, it was Arsenal in the lead against Brazilian champions Corinthians. Is that still the case, Dave?
Yes, still the case. Arsenal 3, Corinthians 2, with 5 minutes of extra time to go. Kendall Cole, as things stand, the hero for Arsenal with that goal in the first period. She's had the big chance to make pretty much certain with a big effort in the second period as well. Played through that channel, similar position back to where she got the goal, but this time there in the Corinthians goal made the save. It has the feeling very much the way the main 90 minutes was developing, with Arsenal just trying to close the game out. Corinthians, of course, allocated with a dramatic and controversial late penalty to take things into extra time. The Brazilians still have one chance really in this second period. Albuquerque bouncing on a miscued Arsenal clearance, dragging a shot wide. And as things stand, Arsenal just over 4 minutes away from taking victory in the inaugural FIFA Women's Champions Cup. There's still more to do here. Arsenal 3, Corinthians 2.
Big win for Arsenal. This would be a massive win.
Yeah, is this another FIFA competition? This is a FIFA competition, isn't it?
It is, which means a lot lot of money. So big potential win for the women's Arsenal side. Potentially the men's Arsenal side could go on and win the league when we come back. We are going to talk about the title race. Arsenal beating Leeds 4-0, Man City dropping points. This is the final word on TalkSport.
Get involved with TalkSport's full-on fan forum and hear insight and analysis from a top team of point-up pundits. Absolutely first class. Every weeknight from 7 on Kickoff on TalkSport. And it's a big beauty. Plus get the lowdown on all the latest odds direct from Ladbrokes. And hear live commentaries of selected matches throughout the season. Brilliant football. Kickoff, weeknights from 7 on TalkSport with Ladbrokes. 18 plus gambleware.org.
But I'm nice mechanics, how can we help?
Can you tell what's wrong with my car? It's making a noise.
Right, and so do you brake or accelerate?
So when I brake, it's more of a... when I accelerate, it's more of a... If you get me?
Right. Customers can be hard work. Switching your bank account won't be. We'll automatically move your regular payments over when you switch with the current account switch service.
Sally, what was that sound called? That wise guy. No, what's a fugazi? No, Sally, the start with the prizes. That prize guy? No, Sally, got meat potato, the cars, 250 grand cash. That prize guy? What's that? Sally, to win cars, tech and cash for as little as 2p per entry, just search that prize guy online. It's easy really, the hardest part is remembering the name. Over 18 only, no purchase necessary. See website for details.
For everyone who loves this Valentine's, there's a mood picture, like that special someone who feels like home. Or your date, who you're trying not to get onto any website you're about. Even your bestie, who knows your type before you do. So create stickers, add your handwriting, and photos that bring your memories to life. And get 20% off with code +20. Because this Valentine's Day, everyone deserves a moonpig.com.
They expect you to stay quiet, to swallow hidden fees, put up with faulty products, and accept poor service as just the way it is. But you can demand better. Stand up, speak up, because with Which on your side, you can say no to bad business, buy with confidence, and get the service you deserve. Which, the power in you. Find out more at which.co.uk. Sports, it's in your DNA.
And at Spread Exports, we want you to gamble responsibly. Set sportsbook deposit limits to help stay in control of your spending. Use our handy fixed odds timer feature, which allows you to take a break when you need it. At Spread Exports, our safer gambling tools are designed to let you play within your limits and gamble responsibly. Visit spreadex.com/DNA. Spread Exports, it's in our DNA. 18 plus gambleware.org.
Who's flashing the cash? Who's waiting to make a last-minute dash? Get all the latest transfer news first.
Tomorrow is transfer deadline day on TalkSport.
Stay ahead of the game with turbocharged transfer talk across the entire day.
From Ford's deadline day drive, Andy Goldstein and Darren Bent bring you instantaneous updates of all the last-minute moves ahead of the transfer window slamming shut. Absolutely sensational. 6:30.
The king of the transfers will be back. Get 3 hours of fast-paced fallout with Jim White and Alex Crook with more transfer talk on the Sports Bar Hotel.
What the move? Transfer deadline day tomorrow on TalkSport.
You've got to be saying something.
Hello?
The final word phone-in.
Good evening, final word. Andy Olivo, Alan Bargy with you until 9 o'clock. Let's look at the title race. All started with a huge win for Arsenal. Leeds 0, Arsenal 4. I think when we saw this picture, bear in mind that Arsenal struggled in their last 3 games in the league, failed to win in those 3 games. I think everyone looked at this and thought, this could be a problem. The big banana skin, Ellen Road, the fans are right on you, aren't they? At Ellen Road, it's a really tight ground. In the end, Arsenal ran riot. Comfortable.
Yeah, I mean, one thing, when you play Leeds United away, one thing that you're going to get tested on is physicality and energy. And you have to match that. You're in big trouble. And when you beat the top teams, whenever I beat the top teams, you have to excel at that. That's what you have to be better than that. Okay, they can be technically better than you. They can be better. They have better balance maybe in some areas of their pitch. The right back and the left back have great coordination, etc., etc. But if you have enough physicality and energy, and you can overpower them, and you can win. Now, Leeds tried to do that, and I thought they were pretty good actually, Leeds, in the first sort of 15, 20 minutes. But Arsenal dealt with that side of the game. They matched Leeds. I wouldn't say they were a level above Leeds, I think, on that side, but matching them was enough for their technical ability to come to the fore. And set plays obviously got on the lead. They got a nice balance then. They got confidence up, and in the end, they showed their class really towards the end, you know, and through the game comfortably. And I think the Leeds manager summed up was exactly right. He was spot on. They were far too good on the day, and their most important game comes Friday night against Nottingham Forest.
Yeah, it certainly does. Arsenal scored more set pieces than anyone else in Europe.
And that sprint, you know, I thought about it because Arsenal introduced it really. That sprint that they have from the back post to the near post, where they charge to the near post, but they've got like a 10, 15, 20 metre run, and then the height they get when they jump, that is a problem. And people have tried to block them, tried to put a wall there, and they're still managing to get success from it.
Yeah, you think of the Arsenal.
That was a great corner by Maduka. How he never got given that goal.
Incredible, right on the goal.
Yeah.
When you think of the Arsenal team, especially towards the back end of Wenger's reign, you look at players, it was diminutive players, wasn't it? It was Carzola, Rizicki. You look at this Arsenal side right now, and everyone seems to be over 6 foot.
Yeah.
But that's why I guess if Leeds wanted to fight, a physical fight, they can do that. They can do that, they can outplay because they've got better players. It's almost a complete Arsenal side, isn't it, the way in which he set this team up?
Well,
apart from maybe going forward, where they seem to struggle, they still get goals.
Yeah, I still would like to see them play with less emphasis on set plays. And what I mean by that is throwing the free kick. I think they're too regimented in that they always set them up. They always set it up. I think there's times where they could, when they've got good pressure, just keep it going. Just get it down and play. And I think they would get more open play goals. Now that's an awkward balance because obviously the set plays they're terrific at. And Declan Rice can sort of smash that set play in from almost 45 metres out. He can put it on the money on the penalty spot. So it's a difficult one, I get that. And Arteta is definitely siding with we're going to set them all up. But I think, you know, maybe towards the end of the season, if they really get a rhythm and they get the lead early, maybe they could go into that mode a little bit. I think they'll be better for it.
Saka didn't play, injured in the warm-up.
Yeah.
What things happened to Saka? He's dropped off a little bit. Is it just too much football? Obviously, he did have that horrific hamstring injury. It's not quite good with Saka this season that Arsenal fans are used to seeing.
No, but when I look at him, I think the opposition done a lot of work on him. He gets doubled up a lot on the, you know, there's the central midfield player gets on the inside of the fullback. They don't give him any access. I mean, the one thing you know about Saka, okay, he will go on the outside and produce crosses, but really and truly he wants to come on the inside and get shots off. So, you know, if you're the opposition, you're not going to let that happen. And I think he's finding that adjustment difficult because he's not getting any, there's no space there. So what options does he have rather than go on the outside or just play it back in the midfield and hope he gets a moment where he gets one-on-one with a fullback and he can get on the inside and get that shot off. I see he forced a couple yesterday, in terms of, you know, not sorry, yesterday, in the week, when I watched it. I see him really trying, he was like blocked out, he was still trying to get the shot off. So I think it's like all great players, you know, when the opposition have done their job, they have to find another way.
Yeah, and they are finding another way because they've got so many good players.
Well, that's the other beauty that
they vote for them and come in. Arsenal to win the league, 6 points clear. Obviously, look, still loads to go. 14 games to go in the league. A lot could happen between them and them trying to trace more than just one trophy, it seems. But Arsenal, big favourite for you?
Yeah, I think so. I just think they got too much momentum. I think the manager, where, you know, his comments this week were interesting because it sounds to me like he sat down with a psychologist and the psychologist said, look, you know, you need to go in the press and you need to say this. Because that's what it sounded like. It was like, you know, a real positive, upbeat message, and I think that was very well done and well timed. I think he's learned from those second places. He looks a little bit more sure about what he's doing. And it's so it should be. The tool bag he has is prolific. It's outstanding. So, you know, and it looks like the Arsenal ladies are going to win the World Cup as well.
Yeah, seems as
So it's a good weekend for Arsenal all round.
Alright, segue. Let's go to Dave Rowe, who's at the Emirates watching Arsenal versus Corinthians. Dave, what's going on? It looks like there's a player down.
Yeah, absolutely. It's Arsenal 3, Corinthians 2. We are 6.5 minutes into stoppage time, the end of extra time, of which only 2 were supposed to be played. That's because they've been stopped for 5 minutes. It's the Arsenal goalkeeper, Annika Borba, who is down. I can only imagine she's been concussed in a clash. It's a clash with her teammate, Woman Moy, as they were looking to prevent the Corinthians trying to go through, which they did. So there's no incident there. But Borba's been plenty of concern over her, the medical staff around her, and she's going to be stretched off very shortly, and Van Domslaar is going to come on for the final stages. We can only have about 35 seconds to go here, but Arsenal are going to see their goalkeeper stretched off. We've had everything happening in this game, including Corinthians coming back twice to equalise, including a controversial late penalty. So more drama in stoppage time of extra time, and when we get going, about half a minute to go, but Arsenal are going to have to make a change in goal. Arsenal 3, Corinthians 2.
Surely Arsenal can hang on for the final 30 seconds in that one. Right, let's talk about the game at Tottenham Hotspur Stadium. Arsenal's nearest rivals, Man City, 2-0 up in that game. Spurs called it back to 2 apiece. Simple question, I guess. Is there still a genuine title race? Do you feel like you're watching a City team that can put a spin of 4, 5, 6 games back to back to back to get themselves back into this?
No, I just don't think Manchester City are there. When you look at the Manchester City teams that have won the league before, under Pep, by the way, let's put that into perspective. His teams that have won it, because they've won it before with other managers, I think they've all been better than this team. And really based around the back four. Not so much the goalie, because I think the goalie's terrific. I think you could win the league with that goalie, no problem. But I think the back four and Rodri, that number 6 position, I think that's all a little bit too weak. And I don't think there's a cohesion about them. I don't think there's an actual belief in the group that they can do it and overturn it. Having said that, you know, when you look at the league table, it still looks doable for Manchester City. Obviously, they've got Arsenal coming to this year. So, yeah, as the fan, the massive fan we had on earlier pointed out, you know, it's still all to play for. Realistically, Arsenal, for me, have got it.
Yeah, it does seem that this Arsenal team look unstoppable at the moment, but it's Pep, it's City, they've got Haaland, who knows? Right, come up next, before we hand the baton over to Danny Kelly, we reveal who the mystery footballer was, and we talk about dancing and managers as well. That's next. Oh, on the final word. On to what? Well, that's my game. Yeah.
This season, I want to feel it from the start, from the whistle, from the first touch. Want to beat the odds, want to take an early lead, want to see why he costs so much money, want to shout pen before the ref has even called it, want to see the call go our way for once. I want to hear their lot go quiet, want to see them leave early, want to drop into the group chat to tell them, I've seen the future, want to hear them agree, and if not, I'll say, want to bet? Bet, Fred. 18 plus gambleaware.org.
They expect you to stay quiet, to swallow hidden fees, put up with faulty products, and accept poor service as just the way it is. But you can demand better. Stand up, speak up, because with Which on your side, you can say no to bad business, buy with confidence, and get the service you deserve. Which, empowering you. Find out more at which.co.uk.
Hey Sainsbury's, have you got anything to help my money go further?
Well, if you want to make some big savings, make sure to use Nectar Prices and your Nectar Prices at Sainsbury's. Together, they can save you over £450 a year on your food shop.
Bring it on.
Download the Nectar app and tap into great savings. Sainsbury's, good food for all of us. 18 plus Nectar app required. The full terms
See help.sainsbury's.co.uk/help/winter prices.
There's a standard Valentine's card, and then there's a moon pig with stickers made just for them, videos they'll replay again and again, and photos that bring your favourite memories to life. Plus get 20% off with code LOVE20, because this Valentine's Day, everyone deserves a moonpig.com.
Whatever kind of football fan you are, Talk Sport and the Coral Daily Download are here for it to celebrate the fans every day. Whether you're a front-row seater or a tall sandwich eater, a half-an-hour scarf wearer or a lifelong faithful torch bearer, a retro shirt for every game or purchased it, even in the rain. For all the latest news, reaction and odds this season, don't miss the Coral Daily Download. Every morning from 6 on Talk Sport with Coral. We're here for the fans. 18+ GambleAware.org. Tomorrow morning from 6.
It's the Talk Sports Superstar Breakfast, mate.
Yes, he's the best we've ever had. So we have a little bit of dust off, and I get on a headlock and I'm
Hey girls, hey boys.
magnificent superstar breakfast.
Latest sports show in the world. Talk Sports Superstar Breakfast.
Tomorrow morning from 6.
Here we go.
Good evening, final word on Talksport. Andy Oladipo, Alan Pardew. Here we go. Here we go. Come on, you must know who this is now. Guess the player. Come on, that was Gazetta Football Italian music first. Bat out of hell, Meatloaf. Get it right, Adam. And Peter Gabriel, Sledgehammer. That last one's kind of like a double clue. When you think about it, Peter Gabriel and Sledgehammer. I mean, this guy had a sledgehammer of a right foot. Oh, absolutely. No, come on, I'll give you a double clue. Yeah, double clue. And the answer is, do you know?
Gabriel.
Gabriel Batistuta. So many people got it right, but it was Chris from Colchester who got it right first. Well done, Chris.
Oh, Chris.
Gabriel Batistuta, by the way, turned 56 today.
No.
56.
Oh my goodness, that
Does
makes
make
me
you feel
No, I
old
don't
again?
want to go there.
He said recently that
I was enjoying the show up until then.
it was good, but 5 minutes ago. He said he no longer watches football because there's no strikers like him or Christian Vieri anymore.
No.
Yeah, he's probably got a bit of truth in that. All right, it is all over at the Emirates. Arsenal were hosting Brazil's Corinthians in the inaugural Women's Champions Cup final. And Dave, have they managed to hang on?
And Arsenal have indeed won it. It finished Arsenal 3, Corinthians 2 after an extraordinary game. All sorts of twists and turns, and no doubt those who instigated this new FIFA competition have certainly had what they wanted in terms of drama. Arsenal, the Champions League winners last summer, have now in this new Champions Cup. They've done it in a dramatic game. The opening goal in the first half scored by Olivia Smith after Bastania's shot was saved, but Corinthians levelled from a messy, scrappy corner to Notty with the final touch to make it one apiece. Woman Moore headed Arsenal into a 2-1 lead in the second half from a great cross by Emily Fox. That looked to be the winner until a controversial late penalty saw Corinthians equalise deep in stoppage time, with Albuquerque firing home after Robledo was a Jostra being fouled by McCabe. VAR getting involved in that one. Arsenal, though, did get the winner in extra time. Caitlin Ford, the hero, attacking down the left-hand side to place a shot inside the near post of Layla, and then more drama at the end when unfortunately goalkeeper Forber was stretchered off after a collision with a teammate, Wilbur Moy, and Van Donslar came on for the final 30 seconds. The Corinthian fans, well, they've added plenty to the occasion as well. The Corinthian players taking plenty of applause for their performance. But Arsenal, the Champions League champions, are now the first ever Champions Cup winners of this FIFA competition. It is finished. Arsenal 3, Corinthians 2.
It's really good, by the way. We've got the visuals here to see the Corinthian fans all standing behind, all clapping their players. The players have gone over to see the Corinthian fans as well, which is really good. Is this a good omen for Arsenal?
Well,
I mean,
perfect timing, by the way, for us. I mean, we're all
You believe in that
show
stuff?
Arsenal got it over the line. And it's nice to have that little huddle at the end. That's the manager. She's just given them a little bit of like, well, you deserve it, blah, blah, blah. We're all in it together. Lovely, a little bit of banter on the back of the victory. Easy, that one.
Told you. See, since I went early, I told you when they scored the third goal was over. I told you. I went early, but I got it right. All right, at the Amex yesterday, birthday boy Beto scored in the 90th minute to rescue a point for Everton against Brighton. What followed, though, was David Moyes doing his best David Pleat impression, and he celebrated the goal on the pitch. Graham Kavanagh then had to book him. He booked the Toffees boss which prompted this reaction from David Moss.
Actually booking for celebrate. Who wants to see managers get booked for celebrating? You know what I mean? I don't think the dance now if the goal was in the 55th minute, you know what I mean? But it means they get nothing about it at all. No thoughts about what football means, or what it means to the managers, without absolutely just saying, no, you just can't step outside that line or I'm going to boot you. Sad, isn't it? It's sad. You know what I mean? I'm still shaking my head. You know what I mean? I bloody will do it again. Actually, I think if I had been a bit more mobile, I might have done a knee slide. You know what I mean? But I don't know, but see, that would have only got me a yellow as well. So I might as well run the whole hog.
He's fantastic. It is noisy. He's right though, isn't it? I mean, football's about
That's very sad, David. Very sad.
Yeah, but he is correct, isn't he? I mean, look, Graham Cavanaugh's probably better than more, you know.
Listen, I think there's a problem in the Premier League, right? We're churning out these kind of managers who have no personality, literally don't offer anything on the sideline, very much textbook kind of, philosophy and blah blah blah, and all the structure of my team was sound today. We got beat, but we played some excellent football, and I thought the balance of our midfield and the compression we had in certain areas was excellent. And sometimes football isn't like that. It's more character and personality. David celebrating there, Mourinho in the week celebrating the ball boy. That's football. If you don't live and die the game, then don't do it, in my opinion. And certainly a few more kind of characters on the sideline wouldn't go amiss, and I'm available.
Yeah, well, we've seen you on the sideline as well.
On the sideline.
We've certainly seen you on the sideline. You've been scribbling away there, Pals. I did ask you to do a bit of...
Yeah, no, just for a bit of fun. Really?
Yeah,
I've done an Arsenal Man City team this year, right? Combined. So this is the team I picked. I'll pick that little trio, Raya, Gabriel and Saliba. Right, I'm not going to interfere with Donnarumma with that. He's got a chance of getting in.
No Gay.
This is Man City, Arsenal combined 11.
Yeah.
Timber right back, Calafiori left back.
Yeah.
No Gay. Although I love him. Midfield, Rice, Zubamendi, and Silva. I put Bernard in front of Odegaard, although that's a tough call, that one. On the right, I'm sticking with Saka, although I know you were digging him out earlier. Yeah, you are. We're trying to have a pop here. Haaland through the middle. And on the left, I would have Doku, right? Doku? Over Semenyo, but I have got that as a close call.
Oh, wait, how many? Wait, what's that? 3 City players?
Only 3. Wow. Yeah, all that money and all that. And you know what?
Arsenal
Do you know what people forget about this league campaign that we're having? When are these fines coming for Man City?
The 150 we got left. Yeah, no, when's it going to happen?
What's all that about?
Yeah. I don't know.
So let's just say Man City go on a 15 game, 40 game, whatever it is, unbeaten one, win the league, Arsenal miss out on goal difference or a point, and then the league goes, actually, some of those chances are applicable, and that league title is now out, we're going to take it off you in mid-July.
Be awful.
And
Arsenal fans
possible. No, it'll be the worst possible scenario. So the FA or whoever's in charge of that whole disciplinary procedure, please let's go on with it.
Yeah.
Let's get a conclusion.
Can we make a decision now, please?
Yeah.
That's what I've expressed on quite a lot. All right, the TalkSport Breakfast returns on Monday morning with Jeff Stern, who's joined by Super Ali McCoy. But if you need some music in your life, who doesn't? Swipe across on the TalkSport app to the Virgin Radio Breakfast Show with Chris Evans. And from 6:30, there's a TalkSport Transfer Deadline show hosted by the one and only Jim White, Mr. Transfer Deadline himself.
I think we're a busy day tomorrow.
Busy. You think so?
Yeah, I
Did
think
you really see something happen?
yeah, I've heard a few whispers. I think
Liverpool, anything?
I'm not saying.
Right.
Busy day.
Tell me after.
The boys will be on it tomorrow.
All right, Liverpool midfielder Danny Murphy's going to join him, as well as our chief football correspondent Alex Crook, and there have all the breaking transfer news as the window slams shut at 7 p.m. The Final Word returns next Sunday. Madge is back, but up next is one of the best shows on the radio. The brilliant Danny Kelly brings you the Trans Europe Express right here on TalkSport. Thank you for listening.
Sport It's in your DNA. That's why at Spreadex Sports, you get great offers and features to aid your sports betting, including £30 in free bets when you join and place a qualifying £10 fixed odds bet at minimum odds of 1 to 2. Visit spreadex.com/DNA for full terms and conditions. Spreadex Sports. It's in our DNA. 18 plus Galloway.org. Qualifying bets not be cashed out early. One step will get free £10 fixed odds bets on consecutive days. Free bet stakes not included in any winnings. Free bets must be claimed within 28 days.
EasyJet's Big Orange Sale is now on. Get up to £300 off city breaks and up to 25% off flights. That's something special to look forward to. EasyJet, get out there. Selected dates and flights. Flight sale ends 3rd of Feb. Holiday sale ends 3rd of March. Min spend and auto protected. T's and C's apply.
It's hard to find the perfect words on Valentine's Day, but M&S has your back. You can say, I heart you with a pistachio-filled chocolate heart. Or you make me all gooey inside with some melt-in-the-middle collection chocolate truffles. And if that's all a bit too subtle, there's the chocolate-coated strawberries and raspberries with I love you very much written on the box. Get it? This is not just food. This is M&S Valentine's food. Selected stores.
We, the podcast, in order to establish opinion, the inside take,
Provide for the common sense and secure the blessings of our listeners.
do ordain and establish.
The State of It, USA.
Join our Washington editor Katie Balls and Times columnist Gerard Baker as they unravel American politics in the State of It, USA. Listen wherever you get your podcasts.
Thanks, Peter. Coming up, we've got live racing from Newcastle under the Friday night lights. Then 3 unmissable race meets live on Saturday, followed by 2 blockbuster racing fixtures live on Sunday. And don't forget more live racing at Kempton on Monday. Tuesday, we go continental with a huge Chantilly race card live.
Sometimes a break isn't a bad idea, you know. So, if ever you want to take time out from betting, use Paddy Power's Take a Break tool to pause your account. Paddy Power. 18 plus Galloway.org.
On 1089 and 1053 in the wave.
Online, on your mobile, on the app, and on your smart speaker. This Talk Sport. Talk Sport.
With your latest sport headlines at 9, I'm Matt Hutchinson. Good evening. Thomas Frank has been comparing Dominic Solanke to Erling Haaland after his second half brace grabs a point for Spurs against City. Solanke's second was a simply sublime scorpion kick. Some mixed feelings for Spurs fans tonight though, as that 2-2 draw meets Arsenal end the weekend 6 points clear. Meanwhile, Michael Carrick has been praising his striker, Šeško, scored a 94th-minute winner against Fulham.
Ben's a big talent, you know, he's got so many positive things. And today's a huge goal because that feeling as a striker, he has to score a winner from the stretch around late like that. It's what you dream of, really.
Well, today's 3-2 win was a third on the bounce for Man United, just 2 away from that Insta-fan finally getting his haircut. Another blow for Villa, though, who lost their second home league game on the spin, going down 1-0 against Brentford. Keith Andrews is proud of beating Unai Emery's side, understandably.
They're an elite team, they're in the title race, so that pretty much says it all. So to say the performance was pleasing would be an understatement. It's just immense pride in what the players produced today.
Meanwhile, Forest drew 1-1 at home to Palace, despite Nico Williams getting a straight red at the end of the first half. England's cricketers have sealed their T20 series in Sri Lanka with a game to spare. They won by 6 wickets in Pallekele, with Banton, Butler and Brook among the runs. And Novak Djokovic has been rather gracious in defeat against Carlos Alcaraz in the Australia Open final.
He definitely is one of the best players I've ever faced in my career, so he makes you play your best tennis in order to beat him. It's what I've done. Set and a half, but then things changed and he deserved to win.
Well, the Serb lost in 4 sets earlier, missing out on a record 25th Grand Slam.
Talk Sport News.
New footage has emerged in the Jeffrey Epstein file showing the convicted paedophile being asked whether he's the devil. And an 18-year-old injured during New Year's Eve celebrations at a ski resort in Switzerland has sadly died in hospital. 41 people have now been killed following that fire.
Talk Sport weather with QuickFit. Whatever the winter weather, Bridgestone Turanza All-Season 6 tyres. Guaranteed for 25,000 miles. Book today at quickfit.com. Conditions apply.
We're expecting a dry night in most parts of the UK with just some patchy rain in the east.
On YouTube, on the Talk Sport app, Trans Euro Express. The world's Wunderbar. From the Bundesliga to the Dutch First Division. Discover from Serie A across the northern plains. Trans Euro Express on Talksport.
Once again to another edition of Trans Europe Express, your Sunday night ingestion of everything that's going on in football in Europe and beyond. I'm Danny Kelly with me for the next 3 hours in the continued and well-earned absence of Andy Brassel. Don't worry, I think he's back next week. But Daniele Fisichella, very much part of the furniture, very much friend of the show, is with us as well. We've got all the usual bells and whistles for you. Tonight, all the major stories from across the continent. Mbappe rush, obviously. Real Madrid, they keep getting okay results, but they're not playing very well, are they? We'll get a reaction from all of the things going on in the Champions League over the last few days, as well as the Europa League as well. We'll be joined by French footballer expert Julien Laurent to talk about France, about Honigstein. Well, we're really going for the big hitters here. We'll talk about German football, including another setback of Bayern Munich in the last few hours. And Tim Vicker, of course, will join from South America. Got a poll for you as well about who's been the biggest flop in the Champions League phase. We've rather cheaply put Newcastle in there. Lots to get through with myself and Daniele Fisichella. As always, all I can express is our gratitude. On a Sunday night when you could be doing anything, you're here with us for all or part of the show. Welcome one, welcome all, bienvenue, fortune to Trans Europe Express on Talksport. Good evening, Daniele. How are you?
Hi, Danny. I'm very well, thank you. Good evening.
Good. Well, first of all, there are several games going on, high-profile games around the continent tonight. The one I've got in front of me, I hope you can tell me to go another one at the moment, is the game between Athletic Bilbao and Real Sociedad. Of course, an important derby game there in the Basque Country. And at half-time, it's Athletic Bilbao 0, Real Sociedad 1, as Athletics, how can we put it, average form this season continues. They're a goal down at half-time. Tell us about the games in Italy and France, please, Daniele.
Well, let's start with France. Strasbourg and Paris Saint-Germain currently 1-1. A very important game for Paris Saint-Germain as they try to regain the top of Ligue 1. Seny Mayur putting Paris Saint-Germain ahead after 22 minutes, but Quella 2 for Strasbourg equalizing on 27 minutes. Currently in the second half an hour to go. 1-1, and over in Italy, in Parma, the Stadio Tardini is Juventus, who are winning 3-1 and playing really well. A convincing performance for Juve. Took the lead with a header from Gleison Bremer, then scored again in the first half with Weston McKennie. In the second half, they made a comical own goal with Andrea Cambiasso, but 2 minutes after, they reestablished the 2-goal lead again with Gleison Bremer, so a brace for the Brazilian defender. Juventus really, really good.
Thank you very much. Okay, well, we're going to spend the next 25 minutes talking about the Champions League. Now that the opening league phase has come to an end, and in about 10 minutes we'll turn our attention to that draw, what it means particularly for a whole flock of Italian clubs. With Daniele here, who are still in the tournament but in the punishment round. 1 or 2 tasty draws for them as well. But first of all, I just want to get Daniele's reaction, and I'm going to make a little speech here. Please forgive me, everybody. Indulge me. When UEFA changed the rules and changed the way the league was done, it was, I think, partially for television purposes. Of course, it wants to show more matches, have more matches to sell, and partially because they wanted, with the increased television money, to close the gap between the power of the Premier Leagues and the Premier League clubs and the rest of the continent. Equally, you could say that when they introduced the idea of a 5th team qualifying for the Champions League, or an extra Champions League place for countries that have done well, they probably didn't envisage that Tottenham would go and win the Europa League from outside of the top 5. You'd have 6 English teams in the tournament. Everything they do to try and weaken the Premier League has backfired so far.
And so we have a situation this season where 5 of the top 8 have gone through are English clubs, and Newcastle have got a difficult geographical but decent footballing draw against Carabao in the extra qualification round. So it's completely within the bounds of possibility that 37.5%, over a third of all the teams in the Champions League last 16 will be English clubs. That's not to say that they're going to win it, because you've got financially, how do we say, enhanced, I don't want to use the word doped clubs in Spain and France. You've got the cultural singularity that is Bayern Munich. So it's not guaranteed that any English club is going to win it, but they are powering through these early stages. And Daniele, I have a theory about this, and that is that the Premier League is changing before our very eyes very quickly. We saw some of it last year with Liverpool. We would have seen more of it if Arsenal hadn't had such bad injuries. But this thing of the physical power of the teams, the reliance on set pieces, but also the way they're breaking down zonal positional football, which has been the be-all and end-all for 15 years since Barcelona perfected it. With, in Arsenal's case, look at some of the runs their fullbacks make from out to in to out. Look at the way Rice starts a run and runs 70 yards to make one run to penalty area. He's not been stopped by because players are technically inferior to him. They just can't keep up with him physically. And the Premier League is becoming more and more like this. There's a load of stuff about this online. If you go on YouTube, there are people dissecting this stuff. I can't remember the guy, another fellow who did it in print the other day. I'll come back to that in a second. But whatever is happening, the best Premier League teams are using the things they do in the Premier League to overpower teams, and then the worst teams who are in the Champions League from England, I've used Spurs as an example, they are freed up from having to play against this, and they look better in Europe as well. Whatever's happening, Daniele, there seems to be, at the moment, until we get to the last stage, there's a real gap between the Premier League teams and the rest. Two things. I still don't agree. Is this right? And secondly, how is this going down on the continent? Well, first of all, I do agree with you, and I think that the English clubs have got an advantage sometimes even before the ball is kicked. The environment helps the English teams. There is collective wealth, there is elite decision off the pitch, a league environment that forces constant tactical evolution, and then of course there is the financial power. If you look at 6 of the Premier League clubs sit inside the top 10 of the Deloitte Football Money League, and the 50% of the English club are in the top 30. So it's no surprise that then 5 of them qualify in the top 8 of the Champions League. However, it also has to be said that the top 3 of these Deloitte Football Money League, so the richest club in Europe, are not English. Real Madrid, Barcelona and Bayern. And coming back to the point, those would be the big guns that the English clubs will have to contend with. But then when it comes to the style of play, and I think that's where the discussion and the debate of the Premier League comes into force, in Europe, the style of play I feel is more open. There are fewer teams that play with a low block. The intensity is not quite as high as in the Premier League, and that's why perhaps some of the teams that this season have struggled in the Premier League to break down, teams that defend deeply but also are very organized, like for example Liverpool, they struggled against low blocks in the Premier League. In the Champions League have succeeded. Tottenham, that sometimes struggle against him pressing them, have succeeded in the Champions League. And then again, as some other players pointed out, the teams in Europe play less on the transition. They of course got a less relentless rhythm, and then of course that helps the fact that the English teams who are tactically perhaps even more evolved, they can base their success on an environment and on developments that progress at a faster speed than in the rest of Europe, and got a competitive advantage. Yeah, I mean, I do take the point about finances, but it isn't all finance because, you know, as you say, the richest clubs in Europe, and we haven't got to the latter stages yet. We saw last year how Liverpool failed. City went out in the round of 16, I think I'm right in saying. And well, I just Is this a good look for the tournament, though? Apparent domination by one league. I don't think it is, but what really can UEFA do about it? If, as you say, the organisational excellence of the English clubs is turning financial advantage into playing advantage, there's not much they can do to stop it, really, is there? No, absolutely. They can't do it, and the way that the Champions League is organised favours with 8 fixtures those teams that are more dominant, because there are more games where they can assert their dominance. And then let's look at how they did compared to the other teams from other big leagues. Well, the La Liga teams this season in the Champions League have lost all but one the 10 meetings against the Premier League sides, and the aggregate score was 21-5 in the 7 games that we've got. That's incredible. But that's because, partially, Barcelona, Real Madrid, Villarreal, Atletico Bilbao haven't performed as well as we thought they could have done, and I think there is also something to go with them. I mean, if Real Madrid and Barcelona are not quite at the level, out of a sudden, La Liga teams do suffer, and we know Real Madrid, of course, have sacked their manager very recently. When it comes to the Bundesliga side, it is pretty much the same and obvious discussion. Yes, there's only one club that can compete with the Premier League side, which is Bayern Munich, and got beaten by Arsenal. But in the grand scheme of things, that 3-1 at the Emirates Stadium today doesn't really count for much. And the history of the Champions League from last season, where Liverpool finished top and then got knocked out by PSG, tell us the story. It doesn't mean that Arsenal are going to stay so dominant and so stronger compared to Bayern Munich. Funnily enough, the league that had the best success against English leagues this season in Champions League was Ligue 1, 2 wins, 2 draws, and 1 defeat. And whereas the French clubs are probably more preoccupied with their domestic financial crisis, actually many of them see the Premier League as a good opportunity to sell at a high fee their best talents. So for the French clubs, actually the fact that the Premier League gets stronger and stronger is actually good news, because ultimately, yes, PSG can still compete against them, and the other clubs can sell. And the same could be said about the Italian clubs, who in the recent years have sold some of the best players, of course, to the Premier League clubs. Yeah, I mean, the joke in Germany used to be, the Bundesliga is financed by the Premier League. In fact, if some of the transfers I've seen mooted for the summer, the Premier League will soon be joking that it is financed by the Saudi Arabian League. We'll see what happens. Look, as I say, I'm making no guarantees about how far these English clubs will go, but it is an extraordinary sight. Just at one stage, it looked like it could be all 6 of them that are going to go through in that top 8. I'm pretty sure that the league, Daniele, how can I put this? It may not reflect the exact reality, because I doubt very much the Spurs are the 4th best team in Europe. I'll put it no stronger than that. The only thing, Danny, just quickly, the only thing that can stop English teams to win it or to play each other in the final is the fact that they have to play against other English teams week in and week out. Exactly that. They could be exhausted by the end of the season. Bayern or Inter Milan, for instance, may have their titles wrapped up by, quite early on. Now, Arsenal may do it this year. But still the Premier League games are, no one takes a holiday in the Premier League, you're right. Come April, English teams are often really getting, this is why the World Cup's is a strange tournament, isn't it? All teams are getting more tired, but in England where every game, with a possible exception this season, with no disrespect to Wolverhampton Wanderers, but a possible exception of games against Wolves, there are just endless games to be dragged out of the cold, hard earth. Really interesting situation. As was the draw for the next round, and we'll talk about that next year on Trans Europe Express, because this qualification round sees at least one rematch from the last day, that dramatic and monstrously dramatic game between Real Madrid and Benfica, as well as, and I'll be really leaning on you here, Daniele, a whole host of Italian clubs, at least some of them who have been winners of the tournament, needing to go through the qualification round. That's next here on Trans Europe Express. You'll listen to me, Danny Kelly, and the familiar and comforting voice of our Italian football expert, today my co-host Daniele Fisichella.
Hello, I'm a National Lottery scratch card. Over 5 people a second ring me. That's like 30 winners since I started talking. Oh, 12 more. 14. 21!
Is there a win in store for you? Play the National Lottery Scratch Card today. Winners is an average. Search Dream Big, play small, rules apply, plays must be 18 or over.
We, the podcast, in order to establish opinion, the inside take,
Provide for the common sense and secure the blessings of our listeners.
to ordain and establish.
The state of it, USA.
Join our Washington editor Katie Balls and Times columnist Gerard Baker as they unravel American politics in the state of it, USA. Listen wherever you get your podcast.
Next winter, the England cricket team are set to tour South Africa, and as always, the Barmy Army will be there. And thanks to TalkSport and the Barmy Army, you could be too. Enter now at TalkSport.com/win for the chance to score a fantastic week-long trip for two to sunny South Africa to watch every day of the New Year Test match in Cape Town in 2027. Enter now at TalkSport.com/win and get ready to experience the electric atmosphere that only a Barmy Army tour delivers. TalkSport.com/win.
And when teams are supported, they can achieve it.
Sorry. Just had even more of my team off now.
Have you tried Benenden Health? It's easy to set up. They've got a GP helpline you can book 24/7.
Where were we?
Coffee break. Don't worry.
Press play on your people's health with a wide range of healthcare services for less than £16 per employee per month. Search Benenden for business. Fee review periodically. T's and C's apply. Qualifying periods apply for some services. UK only. Visit benenden.co.uk.
When life gives you that hump day feeling, Deliveroo gives you the fuel to power through with a top-up shop delivered in as little as 20 minutes. Keep the fridge full with your favourite essentials from Co-op, Morrison's and Sainsbury's. And even better, our freshness promise means your fresh and chilled groceries arrive fresh, or you get your money back. Deliveroo, now just got even better. Geographical restrictions, T's and C's and fees apply. Delivery times vary. See app or web for info.
This season, I want to feel it from the start. Want to beat the odds and prove them all wrong. Look them in the eye and say, want to bet? Betfred. 18 plus gambleaware.org.
One massive Monday night of live Brazilian football and TalkSport. Feel the burn. Have some of the best Burnley. Hi, this is the pre-match workout. Begins at 7. Today, beautiful match commentary from 8. It's the most important Monday night of live Premier League football on TalkSport.
You're listening to Trans Europe Express with Danielle Fisichella and me, Danny Kelly. Thank you for being along with us. We really do appreciate it. Let me just tell you that almost an hour gone now in the big derby of the Basque Country. It remains Athletic Club Bilbao 0, Real Sociedad 1. Gonzalo Guedes, the Wolves fans, dry your tears. Got the goal at 37 minutes. And needless to say, the referee is now spending as much time talking to the benches as both teams get pretty het up about the goings on the pitch, which of course is how a derby game should be. Daniel, we talked about the Champions League in theory. Let's talk about it in practice now. So we've had the draw for the so-called punishment round, the qualification round. We'll talk about Real and Benfica when we get onto it back a little later in the show. You could argue Newcastle, despite the travelling, got a nice draw. Karabag have done very well, but they're not in the same level as the Premier League team, so that's pretty good. I want to talk about lucky draws though. Last year, Paris Saint-Germain failed to qualify for the top 8 and drew one of the teams that they always whack in France. This time they failed to qualify for the top 8 and drew Monaco, one of the teams they always whack in France. Yes, and last season after knocking out Brest in those playoffs with an aggregate score of 10-0, Brest have been one of the big surprises of the season before in France, of course, and the Champions League as well. Yes, PSG were an underwhelming first phase, then advancing through the round of 16, where of course they knocked out Napoli, but it was a different PSG who was a proper revival really in the second part of the season, were much better. This season, still underwhelming because they didn't qualify in the top 8, and now they got Monaco, who by the way is a team that is in real crisis. I know they won at the weekend, but they were 14th in the table before that win. Sacked the manager having the season replaced Adi Hütter with Sebastian Pocognoli. And PSG can be absolutely happy with that because overall in Europe, it's sad that when you get the same nation derby in a European competition, they really affect you, they really detract from your league form, and there is an awful lot of mind games that go into it. Sure. But I think with the exception of France, where PSG are so dominant, and a bit so dominant, especially in regard to Monaco in the last few years, that this draw look extremely kind for them. Surely, obviously, they don't have to travel far. They play a team that they normally beat. Yes, it will be like 2 more league games for them, which they seem to have their hands on. By the way, they're still drawing 1-1 tonight at Strasbourg, so maybe let's not jump into the conclusion, but definitely they've been better than Monaco this year.
Okay, well listen, we'll get on to Napoli going out a little later, not even qualifying Antonio Conte and all the rest of it. We'll get to that when we go to Italy, but the other Italian sides have all, now they know what they've got to do to get through to the last 16. Atalanta have Dortmund, Juventus have Galatasaray, and Inter, currently top of the Scudetto, have Bodø Glimt. Each of those sides presents its own challenges. Dortmund are an inconsistent but decent team. Galatasaray, you could get beaten in Turkey by 2 or 3, and nobody wants to go to Bodø this time of the year. Talking about the Italian teams and how they might get on. They could all win, but these are tough draws for some of them.
They could. Remember last season, 3 teams in the playoff of the Champions League, none of the Italian ones qualified, Juventus, Milan and Atalanta. This season, hopefully, at least 2 of them. Let's start with the most difficult one, which is Atalanta's trip to Borussia Dortmund, because Borussia Dortmund are second in the Bundesliga. Yes, they are inconsistent. They were second best against Inter, but that was Inter. Atalanta is a team that I think they throw the qualification away after beating Marseille, after beating Chelsea. Then they had the opportunity against Atletico Bilbao on match day 7. They went ahead, but they conceded 3 goals. A couple of them on the count. They were caught on the break, and then they lost also in the last game of the season of the league phase against Union Saint-Gilloise, without really having a go at it. So I think Atalanta, yes, the momentum has shifted, and Borussia Dortmund, of course, is a team that, especially at home, in the Champions League, they're extremely good. They only lost 2 of the last 22 games played in the Champions League. At home, of course, they lost to Inter as well. Juventus Galatasaray is an intriguing one, because Galatasaray have got a very strong forward line. Attack is going to be a difficult environment, an environment where Juventus over 13 years ago lost and got knocked out famously at the group stage. You wonder who the manager was of the Juventus? Not a clue. Maybe we'll be talking about next up. But Juve at the moment are turning up, really. I mean, at the moment they're winning 4-1 at Parma, and since Spalletti is still in charge, they are really a pleasure to watch. You will feel they go enough to beat the Galatasaray side, who on the other hand, they got a lot of players, Osimhen first of all, but also Mauricardi, who have experience playing in Italy, and the manager, Okan Buruk, used to play in Italy as well, so I think it's going to be a tense one for Juve. And finally, Inter, Bodø Glimt, the Arctic Circle in mid-February. Nobody really wants to go there, but I feel if Inter take the game seriously, if they give Bodø Glimt respect, not too much respect, but they try probably to not get overrun and not get suffocated by the press of Bodø Glimt, especially at home. Then with the second leg at the San Siro, I think Inter should be able to nag it. Bodø Glimt has got a great record at home in the European competitions. They recently beat up a lot of Italian teams, Lazio and Roma, lost to Juventus this season 3-2 in a close game, but away from home, Bodø Glimt don't travel particularly well. Of course, last Wednesday, they beat Atletico Madrid. And
an amazing result.
Yeah, amazing result. It was totally deserved, has to be said, because they had a lot of chances. But Inter have got the know-how, especially at home in the Champions League, so that on paper looks the easiest of the draw, because otherwise Inter could have got Benfica, by the way, and Mourinho, so I think it would have been more complex.
I mean, last Sunday, last Stevenson on, because really good at these sort of things, to tell us about Boda's chances and their rise and rise and rise. And he said something absolutely extraordinary. He said the players have been together as a group. Some have gone away and come back for so long that if the lights were to go out, particularly in the home games on the artificial pitch in the Arctic Circle down here, if the lights went out, he thinks the Boda Glimt players will still find each other with their passes. They are so well drilled at what they're doing. And that struck a chord of fear in me, because those sort of teams, if they catch on the right day, can do damage. The other one we haven't had a chance to mention is Atletico Madrid, who they play a Club Brugge team who they should be better than that, but Madrid Atletico, they're not quite the team they have been over the past few years.
Yeah, especially defensively, they concede far too many goals. And in the game against Bodo Glimt, they did concede many chances. I would have expected, after taking the lead, to just basically lock the game and make sure, the game was very fragmented, and actually it never happened. And going even to the Wanda Metropolitano doesn't seem as intimidating as it used to be. Simeone is under pressure. He's being moved by his own fans. It is a team that, of course, find it hard to compete domestically with the likes of Real Madrid and Barcelona.
But he's still miracle worker there. We'll talk about it later on.
But he's so far behind in the league that on this game, a lot hinges really for him. And Club Brugge, on the other hand, they've grown a European pedigree now these days, especially when they play at home. They can really impose the rhythm. Last season, Brugge knocked out Atalanta deservingly, and in the last game of the Champions League, they beat Marseille again deservingly. So I think this probably is on a knife edge. It's very balanced. As I would say, is also Olympiacos Leverkusen.
I don't want to get you into trouble. I'm going to state now who will go through among these Italian clubs, and in a unusual piece of radio, you just nod your head. You keep quiet if you think I'm right. I think 2 Italian clubs will go through. Juventus will qualify, so will Inter, Atalanta will go out. Thank you very much. That's all I need to know. That's about right. It's going to be the qualification matches look great on paper. I'm looking forward to them hugely. We'll have a look at what Paris have got to do, and that huge time, the return of Mourinho yet again to Madrid with Benfica a little later in the programme. Let's give the Champions League a little rest now for a little while and turn to what's going on in France. Some amazing stories there. Needless to say, Roberto De Zerbi, my idea of a brilliant coach, but a man that brings chaos everywhere he goes. Has had an amazing week, good, bad and indifferent at Marseille, and we'll start with that. Thank you for being with us here on Trans-Europe Express.
Sometimes being a football fan isn't easy. The heartbreak of losing the game in added time. The price of a half-time pie. How much? But fortunately, listening to Hawksby and Jacobs on TalkSport is easy.
This is Paul Hawksby and Andy Jacobs. Join us for all the latest sporting news and entertaining conversation.
Don't miss all the latest form and odds from Paddy Power. Weekday afternoons from 1 on TalkSport. Check out our latest online-only petrol offers on the Paddy Power app or at paddypower.com.
Terms and conditions apply. 18 plus BWR.org.
Hi, just leaving work now. Sorry it's a bit loud. Basically, so I was thinking we could get Mackey's tonight. Had a Big Mac on my mind all day, and delivery fee on the app is now from 99p. So, you in? Of course you are. Okay, bye.
Exclusively on the McDonald's app. 18 plus, service fee, small order fee may apply. Participating restaurants, serving times and T's and C's apply.
When I walked on stage on my first open mic night 25 years ago, I never thought they'd end up making a Hollywood movie about it. Is This Thing On? It's a new film that's inspired by what happened to me, John Bishop. It's directed by Bradley Cooper and stars the brilliant Will Arnett and Laura Dern.
I had no idea your life was this bad.
Newsweek says it's life-affirming, heartfelt and hilarious. And it gets 5 stars from the Times. Don't miss It's This Thing On. In cinemas now.
They expect you to stay quiet, to swallow hidden fees, put up with faulty products, and accept poor service as just the way it is. But you can demand better. Stand up, speak up, because with Which on your side, you can say no to bad business, buy with confidence, and get the service you deserve. Which?
This season, LiveScoreBet is bringing you more ways to win with our weekly promotions. No goal, no problem. VAR payout to the rescue. 2 goals ahead, cha-ching. Rest easy and enjoy the game courtesy of 2 Up. Celebrate every goal, every twist and every turn this season with LiveScoreBet, bringing you more ways to win. LiveScoreBet. Total betting. Eligible leagues and markets vary. Full T&Cs apply. 18 plus. Gambleaware.org.
Can't get enough of Virgin Radio's 90s, noughties and ballads. Craving more Chris Evans?
It's a fantastic lineup.
Or need more Huey Morgan in your life?
Do what I do. You're on Virgin Radio.
Download the free Virgin Radio app and never miss a minute of all your favourite Virgin Radio shows.
I love it. Can't get enough of it.
You can listen live and you can listen back to every show from the last 7 days of Virgin Radio. Plus, seamlessly swipe between all the stations in the Virgin Radio network, including Virgin Radio Legends, Virgin Radio Chill, and Virgin Radio 80s. Do yourself a favour and download the free Virgin Radio app from the App Store or Google Play today. Alright.
Hotspot big European attention. Trans-Euro Express.
We've got some fantastic guest experts for you tonight on Trans-Europe Express, none less than the experts you're going to hear, because when you're talking about French football, almost synonymous, I think it's fair to say these days, on television, radio, no doubt every other platform known to man and woman, is Julien Laurent. Hello, Julien.
Hello, boys, how are you?
Really, really great to hear from my friends. So many great stories happening in France just now. Let's start with the week that Roberto De Zerbi has had at Marseille. A very bad week on the pitch, but also a kind of week in which he's been reported that he's threatened to resign, then he has resigned, then he's not resigning. What's going on with... I mean, it's very hard to answer this question, I know, Julien, but what is going on with Roberto and Marseille?
I mean, it's a crazy week, but it really is a nightmare week for them. First of all, obviously, Wednesday night, everybody was knocked out of the Champions League. One, by losing, so by the bruise and with a performance that was unacceptable for a team of this caliber and a manager of this caliber too. But then also, they thought until their game was finished that they would still go through just about until Benfica and Turin scored an incredible goal.
Amazing.
And they were watching in the dressing room on a phone to realize that they were out of the Champions League, and that was heartbreaking in itself. Saturday was, I guess, not as bad, but they were 2-0 and cruising away in Paris against Paris FC before crumbling again and conceding 2 goals in 5 minutes to drop 2 points for a disappointing draw. And really, that's like the image of not just this week, because as we said, it's a nightmare week, but also to a certain extent to their season, because they are so capable at times to put on great performances. And on the other hand, they look like an average team sometimes, and that's for me on De Zerbi as well, because he struggled to get that consistency. They played 31 games, he had 31 different lineups to start the games. And as you said, on Thursday afternoon there was a big meeting between him, Pablo Longoria, the president, Mehdi Benatia, the sporting director, and the club. But basically he said, listen, we found the problem. I can resign. I'm happy to resign. We saw it resign. I think many people at the club saw he had resigned. Then he said he was not resigning. He said, I'm here I can go to war for another 4 or 5 years. Okay? But now obviously that put a lot of pressure on him and on the team. And next weekend they go to Paris to play PSG.
Julian,
yeah, please, sorry.
I quote what De Zerbi said in his press conference in Italian yesterday. He said, I'm ready to go to war with this team because I come from the S ward. And then obviously, first of all, I would like to know, has it been translated literally in French? And how have the media and the rest of the French football world reacted to that? Because I know in Italy these sort of things will probably be divisive. There will be still people who would side with De Zerbi because of his history, because of his style, and because of the way he communicates. But is it the same in France?
Yeah, a little bit. I mean, and to answer your question, it was translated as it is. The French word starts with an M.
Yeah.
The thing with De Zerbi is that he's been at war now, suddenly clashing regularly with the French media in his press conference. his press conferences in general, so there's some with whom he's got more beat than others, obviously. But there's that feeling is tense a lot of the time when he does his press conferences. And as we all know, certainly when they were in Europe, you've got press conference almost every 3 days, before the match, after the match. If you play 3 times a week, they come 6 times in front of the media, and that's everyone, not just him, obviously. But I think attention has not helped his case either, because in the same press conference that you mentioned, what he said about where he comes from, he also said, I'm not telling you everything, I don't want to tell you everything. Like, many times he said, like, basically, we don't understand the game, we don't ask enough practical questions. There's a lot of difficulties for him, but we know him well. He kind of likes the environment, I think. He likes adversity, I think he thrives in it. And also, Marseille is so similar to him as a football city. It's a city that lives football, breathes football, eats football. Like him, they're so passionate over there. He's so passionate about the game too. And that's why he was almost like a marriage made in heaven. But at times, when there's too much passion, it can obviously involve too much emotion as well.
Julian, hang on a second while I ask this. We have Daniele Fisichella with us. I'm going to ask him the same question he asked you, but in reverse. I mean, it's all right me thinking that he's a great laugh and a really good coach. What about in his native Italy, Daniele? How does he go down there? Because they like largely they like a very professional, scientific approach to coaching, and maybe a little bit of Antonio Conte thrown on top of that. The question is, when he's finished at Marseille, will one of the big Italian clubs be looking to take Roberto De Zerbi into the fold?
If they do, it would be seen as a gamble, because Roberto De Zerbi in Italy is extremely divisive, and probably is one of the most divisive coaches at the moment, because there are those who basically tell him you never won anything, and you shouldn't have such an aura about yourself. And this is probably the people who think that the result is more important than the style. But then there's a big part of the media and the football fans that love him for what Julian has just said, his passion, his commitment, and the fact that these teams are a joy to watch. I think it could be linked to another great coach he coached in Italy a few years ago, Zdenek Zeman. He never won anything, but he made football enjoyable for everyone, but for this reason, he's extremely divisive. So that's why perhaps no big clubs in Italy have approached him with that conviction.
We should just say that in the talk we'll come on to it with Julian. PSG have now taken the lead against Strasbourg. They're down to 10 men. We'll get more details about that for you in a second. I must move on then, Julian, because we have spent a lot of time over the last few years on this programme shaking our heads about Lyon. Because Andy Brassell is so devoted to them, we talk about them rather too much. But they're suddenly in a vein of form unlike any other. Am I right to think they've now won 10 games on a spin?
That's right, yeah, no competition.
Amazing. And they beat Lille this weekend, and so they're rolling along now. What's happened there? Is it just really just Fonseca sorted them out?
Yeah, I think it's a big part that he really, I think he's an outstanding coach. Really outstanding. The job he's done this season, like, they've just had Endrick on loan from Real Madrid, and that's, for a team, certainly for a Ligue 1 team, that's an incredible boost to have such a talented. The guy is so good, he's far too good, I think, for the league already. But even if he didn't score today, the job that Fonseca has done, even before Endrick arrived, and they signed another young Swedish international that scored today the winning goal, who looks already very promising, box-to-box midfielder, Nate. But the job that he's done with not much money, not much recruitment either. Last summer, they had to sell some of their best players, and we're quite lucky, I think, to get hold of Malik Fofana, simply because he got injured, and it was hard to obviously sell a player, even at his quality, injured and out until he's going to come back probably next month now. And so he's done an amazing job, both in the league and in Europe, where they finished obviously top of the league phase in the Europa League, playing mostly the kids. And as we saw on Thursday night, they had two 17-year-olds, one 17-year-old scoring and two 18-year-olds scoring. And you're like, wow, this is even the academics producing right now in this current cycle. But Fonseca, for me, is the main ingredient of why this young team has been working so well this season. And he should add now, obviously, the recruitment players that I mentioned, plus the players who are times like Malik Fofana missed some of the action so season. I think they can have a really, really good second half of the season.
Julian, Paris Saint-Germain close again on the victory as we speak, 2-1 against Strasbourg. How's the match been? A bit late for what we've seen, but are Paris Saint-Germain confident they're going to kick on in the second half of the season as they did last year?
Yeah, that's the idea, really. I think as we saw against Newcastle in the Champions League on Wednesday night, in the second half especially, they still, I think, lack a bit of energy and sharpness in those, like, between the 45th and the 90th minute at times. Tonight they lost Hakimi, who was sent off for a reckless challenge in the 75th minute. So they played 50 minutes with 10 men. That's when they scored the second goal. And Strasbourg, a good team. Gary O'Neill is doing a really good job there. They will be a bit unlucky to lose tonight because I think the draw probably would have been a fairer result. But they have so much energy. They have so many good young players all around the pitch. They've got fluidity, a lot of rotation, a lot of movement, and it's really hard to play against them. I wouldn't be surprised if they were going far in the Conference League, by the way, as well. And credit to Gary O'Neill because under Mourinho, the last few weeks of Mourinho, things were a mistake. O'Neill has brought a lot of energy back to the team, but it will be a big win for PSG because they will go back 2 points clear now of loss before that big classic that I mentioned against Marseille on Sunday.
Julien, he says, as always, an education to listen to you. Thank you very much indeed. Our great friend Julien Laurent with all the latest from the French league. I should tell you that Monaco won this weekend as well. Their first victory since November. Probably just getting back at some kind of shock by Paris Saint-Germain in the qualifying games for the Champions League. And if Julien Laurent was not enough, we're also staying with the big beast of European football reporting. Next up, Germany with Raphael Honigstein.
It's a new season, the fans are back, and so is Coral's free reward shaker with bigger football rewards. The half and half sharpened, shaking decisively for once. They've backed their super boost. Next to that, the Pro Sandwich Brigade. Oh, they've shaken up a free bet after that free lunch. Play Coral's free reward shaker to win bigger guaranteed daily rewards and offers this season. Coral, we're here for it.
18 plus, you can max one reward offer per player per day, 8 AM to 8 PM. Reward restrictions and T's and C's apply. Gamble.org.
With LV, I can get my home insurance from just £133. They've made it easy for me to get a great price. And their 24/7 emergency helpline lets me look after what matters to me. Because insurance is simple when it's me and LV.
No wonder we're rated excellent on Trustpilot. Get your quote today at lv.com. 10% of new customers paid £133 or less July to December 2025. LV General Insurance is part of Allianz. Hey Sainsbury's, any way you can save me a few quid on my weekly shop?
Well, Jane, try your Nectar prices. Every week in your Nectar app, you can unlock up to 10 personalised discounts on things you love at Sainsbury's. A Jamesbury's, if you will.
Sounds like my kind of place.
Get personalised discounts with your Nectar prices. That's good food for all. Jamesbury's. That means Sainsbury's. 18 plus Nectar app required. Unlock up to 10 your Nectar prices weekly. Available in supermarkets, online, and in local supermarkets. T&C's apply. They say, go big or go home. But now you can go big at home with the Big Arch on delivery. That's right, the Big Arch is back and it's here to stay. Big Arch, the big McDonald's owner, all in the McDonald's app. Serve from 11 AM, 18 plus. Service fee and small female light. Upcharges apply to delivery orders, subject to availability, price and participation may vary. Sometimes being a football fan isn't easy. The agony of being 3-0 down with only 10 minutes left to play. Or having to have your lucky fans watch the Lions every single Saturday. But fortunately, listening to Drive on TalkSport is easy.
This is Andy Goldstein, and this is the radio phenomenon they call TalkSport.
Don't miss all the latest Formula Odds from Paddy Power. Weekday afternoons from 4 on TalkSport. Check out our latest online-only Pepper offers on the Paddy Power app or at paddypower.com. Terms and conditions apply. 18 plus be other weather.org. Tomorrow is transfers deadline day.
Stay ahead of the game with turbocharged transfer talk across the entire day.
From Ford's deadline day drive.
Then get 3 hours of fast-paced ball out with Jim White and Alex Croft from 6:30. Transfer deadline day.
Tomorrow on TalkSport.
Yeah, let's talk about Germany now, and who better to join us to talk about that? Of course, he is long-time fellow traveller of Trans-Europe Express, making a welcome return, the unmistakable voice and knowledge of Raphael Honigstein. Hello, Raphael.
Hello, guten Abend.
Good morning, the German jury. Thank you for joining us. We should start inevitably with Bayern Munich, who they've got one for 2 games. But we're not really in danger of getting a title race in Germany, are we?
We might well be. We might well be. They got 2 points at Hamburg, a fantastic game on Saturday night. 2 traditional heavyweights, if not current heavyweights, going head-to-head. Sure. And Dortmund won today, albeit with a bit of good fortune against Heidenheim, and it's only 6 points, and Bayern are going to Dortmund in a couple of weeks' time. So, let's see.
I'm very used to that sentence, and Bayern and Dortmund meet very soon, and then often, Rafa, at the back of that result, we're saying, oh, it's all off again. Talk to me as well about Werder Bremen, because no win in 10, inevitably, that means that the coach has gone.
Yeah, Horst Steffen got fired. He was only in the job for a few months since moving from Elversberg in the 2nd division, where he's done some fantastic work. And I must say, I have a bit of sympathy for him, because he works with a squad that was lacking a centre forward. You remember Leverkusen's Victor Boniface? He was their big idea to be up front, and he never ever got going. Some injury problems, he did play, it didn't really work out, and Werder lacked that cutting edge up front. They have some nice players, they play some good football at times, but without that centre forward, they're really struggling. And even though they had a fairly decent game, I would say, certainly in the second half against Gladbach, and a 1-1 draw, they pulled the plug on it.
Right, going back to the game of Bayern against Hamburg, there is a player that really caught my attention. I'm sure I'm not the only one. Luka Buksovic, the defender from Hamburg, 18 years old, really impressive. He scored, but not just because he scored, but the way he controlled the Bayern attackers. Is he the next big thing coming out of the Bundesliga?
He is definitely somebody who a lot of clubs are looking at. He had a fantastic game. He scored the goal, as you said. He looked really comfortable. He looked so confident the way he plays. But of course, he's a Tottenham player. So Daniel should be delighted to hear have him. And the question is, will anyone be able to get him out of Hamburg, out of Spurs effectively, because
Raphael, with the current spate of injuries at centre-back, Spurs may be using the next 24 hours to get him back to England.
I don't think they have the opportunity to do that.
No, not as I understand it, but yes, the German clubs may very well. The German clubs may very well be eyeing him jealously, but one of the problems there is he has a contract for the next 3 or 4 years with a Premier League club, so it's all a bit tricky. Let me just tell you that in Spain, Bilbao have got a late equaliser. Get a goal scorer for you soon. 87th minute equaliser, making that one now in the Basque Country. I don't think Bilbao on Real Sociedad won here. Luka Vuskovic is a source of endless conversation on the Beautiful Lane podcast that I do about Spurs. Raphael, let's talk. I want to talk, because we run out of time, but I must talk about Hoffenheim. Because when we think about German football, they're not the first name that passes your lips, but there they are, firmly ensconced in the Champions League places. How have they done that?
They're doing really well. They have a new coach who came in last season, saved them from relegation effectively, and this season he's doing really well. Christian Ilse, he was in Sturm Graz in Austria before, and they also took his former sporting director from Sturm Graz. So there's a really sort of a dynamic duo now in charge. And even though Christian Ilse has done some interesting team talks where he used the cauldron like Asterix style and threw lots of things in it, including it's probably best described as a sex toy to represent male prowess. It somehow did work, or has been working, and they're playing some amazing football.
That may be the first time in almost a decade of Trans Europe Express that both Asterix and a male sex toy have been mentioned at all, never mind in the same sentence. Well done, Raphael Honigstein. And I want to get on to Upamecano in a minute, but first we mentioned Dortmund, who've just got a foul with Dervic, takes them back above Hoffenheim into second place. I watched them play against Spurs in the Champions League, and they were ordinary, to really exaggerate what they did in North London. But they can't be that bad because they are second in the Bundesliga. And every time I see them play, they look like they're going to score plenty of goals. They look like they're going to concede every time the ball crosses the halfway line.
Yeah, they've been very shaky defensively, but they have found ways of winning most games since the restart. You were right. I mean, they were absolutely shockingly awful in Tottenham. I was at the game, and I was talking to the Dortmund officials afterwards, and they were so distraught because, of course, you can lose a game like this, but not playing like that. So they were absolutely gobsmacked at how poor the team had played before, because they have some decent performances in the Champions League. Yeah. And now they feel emboldened to the point that Nico Schlotterbeck, the German national defender, has said, we want to win the championship. So they really think that the 6 points that we mentioned earlier could be reduced and Bayern could be vulnerable. I'm not so sure, I must admit, but it's a good sign that they have a bit of confidence, and of course the league can win with a title race, so a good weekend in that respect.
Looking at the defense of many German clubs, we know the Bundesliga is a high-scoring league, but what I found interesting is that 12 out of 18 teams at the moment have got a negative goal difference from Freiburg below, basically. That's probably because Bayern dishes out heavy defeats to everyone. But if that is something could affect the German teams going into Europe, anyone but Bayern in a way.
Yeah, you're right. I think there's a lack of balance. Most of these teams, I mean, Leverkusen look more solid now that they changed managers. Of course, we know that it didn't work out for Erik ten Hag early in the season, and they're beginning to show signs of real improvement. Not quite the level that they played with Xabi Alonso, but I think they can be a decent team. And they're, of course, in the playoffs along with Dortmund. But Dortmund, strangely, for Niko Kovac, who had the reputation for being pragmatic and defensively solid, they have started to leak a lot of goals. They score goals as well, as we saw again tonight, but as a balance, overall balance, I don't think they have what it takes to make these intros into the competition. And Bayern once again stand as the one team I think who can challenge. They're going through a bit of a rough spell by their standards, but they've shown some really good stuff, especially against PSG, where they won that game with 10 men back in November, to suggest that they will be competitive this year in Europe.
Yeah, there were two goals. There were 2-1 down against Heidenheim of all teams, so they come back to win 3-2 because they can score. A player I want to talk about is Dayot Upamecano. A fixture at Bayern Munich for the last 5 years, Raphael. These days, first choice for Didier Deschamps, and a French team that might win the World Cup in a few months' time. And yet Bayern haven't yet managed to pin him down to a new contract. Is that because they don't mind if he goes? Or they don't get him to sign it because there'd be a queue of English clubs looking for him if he was to be coming out a free agent?
Yeah, they would love him to stay. The problem that they've had, and it's, in a way it's a good problem with them, is performances have improved so much over the course of the last 12 months under Vincent Kompany, who of course knows a thing or two about defending. But he, I think, suddenly has a lot more options than he would have had before. And as somebody who's out of contract, he can basically decide where he wants to go, plus a huge sign-on fee. So the problem that Bayern have had is that the demands have been such that they have found really, really hard to meet. And they've been haggling about sign-on fees, about wages, about a release clause that perhaps should be in there or shouldn't be there, depending on your viewpoint. And that's why now we're in a situation where we've seen this before with countless other players, including Michael Ballack and so on, where Bayern feel that they can no longer wait and be sort of a passenger in this process, and they've kind of now set a deadline and said, this is the offer, it's not going to improve, either you sign this or you can go. And that deadline is approaching very, very fast, and I think we'll have some clarity fairly soon, but it's indicative of, first and foremost, his improvement as a player that has led to the saga in the first place.
And hence, of course, the slightly green eyes being cast in direction of Vuskovic at Hamburg. They may need reinforcements in the centre of their defence before very long. Listen, Rafa, it's always a pleasure to talk to you. Thank you very much indeed.
Pleasure was all mine, thank you.
It was equal. Raphael Honigstein there with all the latest from Germany. Let me tell you that game in the Basque Country has come to an end. A 1-1 draw in the end between Athletic Bilbao and Real Sociedad. Doesn't do any of them any good. Athletic remain absolutely stuck in mid-table, and Real Sociedad, who were hoping to close in on the European places, have got those 2 late points, which don't really, as I say, aid them in that endeavour. Atletico Bilbao 1, Real Sociedad 1. We'll go round the grounds in just a few minutes' time to get all the other scores from the big games that are happening in Europe. Thanks for being with us for that first hour of Trans-Europe Express, which has whizzed by. I hope the second hour will be equally entertaining and go by just as quickly. Thanks for listening one more time.
Sport. It's in your DNA. That's why at SpreadX Sports you get great offers and features to aid your sports betting, including £30 in free bets when you join and place a qualifying £10 fixed odds bet at minimum odds of 1 to 2. Visit spreadx.com/DNA for full terms and conditions. SpreadX Sports. It's in our DNA. 18 plus gambleware.org. Qualifying bets not be cashed out early. Once settled, get free £10 fixed odds bets on consecutive days. Free bet stakes not included in any winnings. Free bets must be claimed within 28 days.
On average, Rift Tax refunds get their customers £3,000 back. Search Rift Tax refunds today.
It's hard to find the perfect words on Valentine's Day, but M&S has your back. You can say, I heart you with a pistachio-filled chocolate heart. Or you make me all gooey inside with some melt-in-the-middle collection chocolate truffles. And if that was all a bit too subtle, there's the chocolate-coated strawberries and raspberries with I love you very much written on the box. Get it? This is not just food. This is M&S Valentine's food. Selected stores.
Flat battery, got a mold. Wipers past their best. Don't worry, you can do it yourself at home. With big brands and low prices, starting from just £1.99 for wipers, £4.99 for bulbs, and batteries from just £39.99. Those light journeys don't need to cost the earth. Don't wait for a flat start. Power up, brighten up, clear up with mymotorworld.com. Delivery from just £3.95. mymotorworld.com.
Thanks, Peter. Coming up, we've got live racing from Newcastle under the Friday night lights. Then 3 unmissable race meets live on Saturday, followed by 2 blockbuster racing fixtures live on Sunday. And don't forget more live racing at Kempton on Monday. Tuesday, we go continental with a huge Chantilly race card live.
Sometimes a break isn't a bad idea, you know. So, if ever you want to take time out from betting, use Paddy Power's Take a Break tool to pause your account. Paddy Power. Plus couple of $1.89 and £10.53 away. Online, on your mobile, and on your smart speaker. Your sport talk. Sport.
Yeah, plenty to get through in the second hour of 3 of tonight's edition of Trans-Europe Express, including Mbappe Watch, all the latest from Spain, and indeed Daniela will give us the very, very most pressing updates from Italy, including yet another post-match State of the Nation address from Antonio Conte, who else, and will be doing a cult hero tonight with the news that one of the most culty Italian forwards is returning to a smaller club there in the next few hours. All that's coming up after we give you some news sport headlines, and it comes to you now here from Matt Hutchinson.
Thanks, Danny. Good evening. Could tonight be a turning point for Thomas Frank? Spurs have come back from 2-0 down to snatch a point against City. Dominic Solanke scored a second-half brace, including a scorpion kick. Well, the manager has been comparing Solanke to the great Erling Haaland.
He's, by the way, 70-80% of his level. What he's given the last 4 games is 4 goals, and pressing and personality. Look at City play without Haaland for 6 months. Dom is just so important for us, and he showed that against us.
Meanwhile, another win for Michael Carrick. That's now 3 on the bounce. It looked like Man United had thrown away a 2-goal lead as Fulham scored 2 late on before Benjamin Šeško's 94th minute winner.
Huge moment. So pleased. Everyone in the changing room, players, staff, delight from absolutely delight from the reception we got when we came back in the changing room. told us everything.
Meanwhile, Brentford have leapfrogged Fulham into 7th. They won 1-0 at Villa thanks to a Dango Ouattara goal, despite playing an entire half with 10 men. Forest were also down a man for the second half after Nico Williams got a straight red. They drew 1-0 at home to Palace. Oliver Glasner is proud of his side, though, who earlier this season drew against Forest with the same scoreline.
Just simply because Roy James still here, it was Marquez still here, it was Mateta here, it was Evan Morton fit, it was Daji Konata fit, and we just got the 1-1 draw, so we have the same result today with all these players missing. So that's why